Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 1 of the Drop Room, a new CSGO show here hosted by Nerd Street, where we talk about anything like Tier 2 Counter-Strike and down. So that includes most of you people that are watching right now. I'm Topical. I'm going to be a host paired up with Balti Baby over there on the side. Balti,
hey there.
I don't know about Balti Baby. I struggle with the baby part, man. Is that ever something you're going to change? I don't know. I feel like it's too endearing. I feel like I have to be a little bit closer to you to be calling you baby.
That's fair because people that were close to me added the baby. It was originally just Balt, and then they just kind of like extended it. So I guess it is a little bit more of an endearing thing. So just Balti is fine.
All right. Maybe one day we'll be close enough. I'll just call you straight baby. Baby driver. But we've got a hell of a show for you all today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start off with MDL Season 5 being kicked off. We're already through the first week being 3 days. That show's on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's when the show is on, but the season, of course, is continuation every day. We just don't broadcast those days. Swag leaving Torqued. That's actually, we made that title, and then AZK also left Torqued as well. So there's an update to that, more information evolving. Hopefully we're on the front line of all that news. Eventually then we're going to be talking about the ESEA Advanced Division, which is a new division this season. Benita will be taking a break from FPLC. And then the Philadelphia announcing that they're going to be using ESEA services to host their matches as well. But let's get right into it, Balti. MDL Season 5 kickoff. What are your thoughts so far on what you've seen?
It's interesting considering it's a practice season, so I feel like maybe the level of seriousness is maybe coming into question. Who knows? But I feel like the talent pool is very interesting this season.
Yeah, with it being a practice season, there are a lot of teams, you're right, don't take it too seriously. I think last time we had a practice season, Virtus Pro had just been knocked down out of relegation to the Pro League, and they're like, we're just going to sit out this season, if I'm remembering correctly.
They did.
This season, let's see, who got knocked down out of Pro League? Dignitas, they're actually participating this season. We'll talk about them more shortly. Anybody else? I don't think so. I think Complexity stayed pro, and
yeah, it was just Dignitas that got demoted, and then Swole and Torque tried to get through relegation and then didn't.
Right. Sadly, they did
Feels
not.
Bad.
Yeah, it does feel bad, man. But we get to see more of them in the Mountain Dew League, which is great for me, at least. Maybe for you, sure. I get to see more of these guys.
I watch it all the time. You guys already know that, like, MDL is my bread and butter.
That's your jam. I mean, your headphones are green, dude.
It's, legit.
It's part of the system.
I don't have Mountain Dew in here, but that's just because McDonald's here doesn't supply it. But if they did, I'd be drinking it.
That was so weird, actually. Like, you brought that up, and like I've been so like, we have to keep things Mountain Dew, no logos that aren't Mountain Dew, and then I'm like, he just brought up a can that's not Mountain Dew, and he said Mountain Dew, and I had this small panic attack. Okay, we're fine.
Okay, no copyrights today, please.
We're fine. We're okay.
First show, get copyright.
Right. Yeah. I don't think we have a problem with that yet. Actually, you and I are free to go gather any sponsorships we want for the show. So if anybody's watching that wants to sponsor the show, we're open to it. Actually, I'm really interested in going and grabbing an Otter Pop sponsorship akin to the Immortals.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Wouldn't it? It'd be wild. But to keep, I wish, dude. Could you imagine having like a freezer behind us that's just full of Otter Pops?
Yeah, like BRB guys. I'm gonna go get a freezer.
Oh yeah, you call them freezies. Everybody calls them different.
I'm Canadian. Okay, come on.
I mean, you guys take maple syrup and literally drizzle it on snow outside and scoop it up and eat it.
Yes, we do.
That's a thing. That's actually a thing.
That is actually a thing.
But to get back on the topic with the Mountain Dew League, Season 28, ESEA is starting to call that Season 5 because it's Season 5, the 5th time Mountain Dew League has been part of it. So you'll see it both ways, Season 28 and Season 5 of Mountain Dew League. A couple of the important matches that we've seen so far this season, F1 Race Car Peak, which season after season, amazing. That also they hold true sometimes to their names and just race out of this stuff. Played the Pioneers. F1 Race Car Peak took the victory on Nuke 16-13. Did you get to watch that game?
I did get to watch a little bit of it, particularly at the end. And the reason I went in to watch it, I saw the score and I was like, all right, we got a close game here. I want to see this. And I look at the rosters and I'm just like, okay, so it's like we got F1 Race Car Peak. We got a nice team that's actually like stayed together for once in the MDL. It's not too common. So they stay together, and then they're playing the Pioneers, who had like a stacked lineup, and then F1 wins it. I was like, I guess that's just the way Nuke goes, is the Pug teams just don't win.
Well, that's actually really interesting because with the exclusion of Cobblestone, which of course we're called the drop room, and then Cobblestone,
and then they get rid of it.
Sadly.
Thanks Valve. Appreciate it.
It's peculiar how often I think we're going to start to see Nuke, because like when Dust 2 was eliminated, everybody still relied back on the bread and butter. There was still a lot of freedom of pick out there, so you rarely ever saw Nuke. It always defaulted, if it was a best of 3 series, it always came down to the last pick being between Inferno or Cash most of the time. But now that Cobblestone's gone, people are like, well, Nuke?
Yeah. they have to just go to other places where like, we don't know what we're doing. This one, like, let's hope they didn't practice it.
And Nuke, I mean, with new Nuke, which just keeps getting iterated, it's strange too, because a lot of teams haven't really figured out how to play those new skylights up top. We don't have mollies that bounce back and land up in the top scaffolding, and that Mustang position up there on the scaffolding is so strong. It's honestly a bit on the shade of overpowered.
The bit that is crazy to me is how like much B site has changed, and how like it went from just like this little silo thing in the middle, and then you plant and you're like, okay, I'm in no man's land, and now they're like, okay, here's all this cover. You're like, there's so many different ways that you can play it now, and trying to figure out like the best way to figure yourself out depending on the situation is interesting to see how like IGLs will try to place their players.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. If I can almost guarantee that there's more iterations of Nuke to come. I don't even think I like that they've blocked off the space between the two silos. That's meh. But you're right. IGLs are going to start to adapt, change, and see what they can do, because we're going to see more Nuke. So I think it's a blessing in disguise that a lot of teams are going to start to improve on their Nuke game. Moving on to another one, Bravado versus Guerrilla Gang. So I hadn't seen Bravado, the South African teams, since season 23 of the Mountain Dew League, where they actually participated at LAN.
Yeah, they went to the Global Challenge, and I'm pretty sure they didn't make it out of the groups. Correct. But I'm pretty sure they did beat TSM the very first game of the event, and it was one of those like mind-blowing things. They win 16-8, and you're like, that's pretty convincing. All right, TSM, we like you, but you kind of got destroyed.
Yeah, way back then, was it Rix on TSM? It wasn't going to make it to, I can't remember. There were some players that were like separated from the team that weren't going to advance. I can't remember what it was. Yeah. Can't even say enough of it. But this Bravado team, since season 23, actually quite stable. After 4 seasons, or 5 now, the only change is minus goals, minus Black Poison, plus Fady, plus JT.
And Fady popped off in that first game. I'm pretty sure he went 23-8. And he shut down Guerrilla Gang. And it makes sense. These guys literally went all the way through main. They win main, come into Premier, MBL. And now you're playing against a Pug team game 1. Like, they were probably like, let's go, dude. Like, they were hyped.
Yeah, so Bravado, I mean, they took 16-5 on Train right out of the gates against the Guerrilla Gang. We're going to see more from them. Of course, a sample size of 1, not good enough. But I'd still say these guys are a team that you pay attention to throughout the MDL season, especially if you're a betting man. And if anybody's watching a bet, and as being a betting man, Bravado is going to win a lot of those games.
For sure. And if you're South African.
Yeah,
there's your team.
Right? That's your jam. I mean, there's not that many South African teams. Exactly. I can name a second one, really. Really old people. And that's another team to pay attention to. They actually just played last night. What was it? It was Alter. So, I mean, it's emote in there as well. So we had fun with that on the MDL show.
For sure.
Because we were like, okay, Evan, you're going to have to carry the baton on this one. Don't mess up, because we're going to eat you alive. So
for sure. He's like, he goes an entire season just casting, and now he's like, all right, let's go play MDL. Like, okay, not a lot of practice, just here you go.
Yeah.
And, I actually really like that roster. It's a combination of guys that like I really like. I really like Evan. I think he's awesome on the show. Really like his casting. You got Alter, who's like a really good fragger when he was playing with Stellar last season. And then you have Cardiac, decent opper, everything like that. Effie's a good like support kind of guy that was on Grizzlies as well. Like there's a lot of like good pieces in there, but I want to see them on something else other than Mirage. They win these 2 close games. They're already 2-0, so doing pretty well. But which way are they going to go with these videos on these vetoes now?
Them videos. Yeah. I'm actually wondering if they follow that Mirage pattern, it's going to be the days of GX with Dazed, where it was just Mirage. No, yeah, it was. Or was it Inferno? No, it was Mirage. It was Mirage. GX just abused Mirage over and over and over again. They had no other real play. They changed maps. They got destroyed. I remember that. That was when they played against Torqued on Train, and it was a fantastic game, at least double overtime, and it was basically who's a better creative thinker, Daze or Steel. And it ended up being Steel, just barely squeaking that game out. But I mean, it got creative towards the end with the strategies.
For sure.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say your predictions for the season. Who's gonna come out?
So predictions for the season, I would say teams to keep track of. We just mentioned Bravado. Sure. I want to also keep track of Swole Patrol. From your memory, has Swole Patrol changed any roster positions yet from last season?
I just know that they've gotten rid of Ryan, so that would be the only decrease on that team. But they brought in Lil Man, so I guess depending on who you are, you think that's a plus, you think that's a minus. I think it's a plus. He's got all that pro experience, and then he's just bringing that right into Swole Patrol. It's what they need.
If I'm not mistaken, just to bring this back full circle, Lil Man was on Rush back at season 23 when Bravado was there.
He was, yeah.
That's when they made Pro League. Yep. Yeah. So it goes back. I think that's a net positive. Something happened in Ryan halfway through the season last season where he if you asked me at the beginning of the season who to watch out for in those games, Ryan's going to pop off, especially on pistol rounds. That's his jam. And then halfway through the season, I don't know if he was playing left-handed or tried it out. There was a game he went 0-15 in the first half. And after that, he just never recovered. It's a shame to see it, but I think he's capable of more than that. But yeah, he gets replaced by Little Man. I still think that's a net positive for the team of the Swole Patrol, though.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like he brings in the same amount of fragging power because when Rush did make Pro League, it kind of seemed like Lil Man was the best player on the team. And he was actually trying to turn up in Pro League despite the fact that they kind of got wrecked. But he tried his best, and now he's bringing that into Swole Patrol. And a team that's actually trying to contend for Pro, they need that kind of guidance, somebody who knows what it's like to get there.
Yeah. And then the last team I'd say, if top 3 teams to pay attention to, Atmosphere. Atmosphere last season had the exact opposite of what happened to Ryan. Beginning of the season, they struggled. Then they just came alive. And they came alive because of Hunter. Hunter carried the hell out of that team. And we got to cast some of them this past week at MDL. Hunter was asleep. The team struggled to perform. It was just they lost 16-7 against Dignitas. Honestly, they got stomped. I mean, Dignitas is a team coming out of the Pro League, but I thought that was going to be a pretty good game. Hunter just could not wake up.
That kind of reminds me. I feel like Hunter is the LeBron James of that team. This guy has to carry it. And I'm not going to try to self-promote. I'm just putting it out there, okay? When I ran my fantasy league last season, people who had Hunter on their team were winning left and right because he was popping off. He is LeBron James, and KRZ is Kevin Love, and is J.R. Smith. He had to literally carry these guys and just put them on his back and just huck it. And just go because he tried his absolute ass off.
I mean, maybe halfway through the season again they wake up. Just off of memory, I think Atmosphere got close to playoffs last season, didn't quite make the cut. You want to be one of those top 8 teams. That 10 is the bubble, I think. So I don't think they made the cut, but they were close. It was just that slow start. They need a faster start this time. So
for sure.
Maybe they just look at last season and find out what went wrong. Maybe they're just rusty. But for you, what are your top 3 coming into the season?
So I agree with you. I think Bravado obviously is the team to look out for, not only because, South African, these kind of wild cards, but we saw what they did in Maine. they spanked everybody there, and now they're gonna come up here, and they're gonna maybe some baby taps at first. They're gonna start slow. They kind of started a little quick on that first win, but I think as they try to face like more people that are actually like well composed, we'll start to see like what they're truly capable of. But I agree. I really think they are going to be one of the biggest contenders in the league. And then once again, Swole Patrol, obviously low man coming in, huge experience boost. But then I actually think Torqued. I think with the fact that like they have this little roster situation going on, and I know we'll talk about that later. They got this situation going on, and I hope they figure it out because I think like that core is really good, like Poyo, Steel, and Kusta. I think if they bring any combination that is MDL caliber, they'll instantly shoot up to the top.
Okay. So actually, 8GM comes into chat and he says they were 4th seed in playoffs. So I'm assuming he's talking about Atmosphere. So they
they were 12 and 4. They were 12.
Oh, so they woke up late in the season. Good enough. But for our wild cards, while we wrap up our topic of the MDL season, what are your wild card coming in?
My wild card. Okay.
One wild card.
It's an interesting wild card because I feel like a lot of people will like them, but I'm going to say Dignitas.
Okay.
Because they start off with this really good core, this young core led by MCE, and it's like, okay, there's a lot of guidance here. This looks so good. And then Dignitas says, we don't want that. We don't want that. Let's bring in these bunch of guys and just put them together, and maybe they'll do something good. And it's like, please don't do that.
I don't understand. Honestly, like MCE was, you could say the backbone, and that would be cliche, but God, he was more than the backbone. He was the framework. He was the structure. He was the foundation. MCE was everything about that team. So that cut was like, oh, yeah. No?
Yeah.
Why?
You're really ruining the team here, Dignitas, and it's yours.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, they came out and put a whooping on Atmosphere, like we mentioned, 16-7 on Inferno. We'll see how Dignitas play out for the rest of the season. Okay, so we'll eyeball them. For me, it's going to be Torqued. And this was, I took that note a couple days ago, and at this point, it's like, I don't know. They had lost swag. They underperformed at the Mountain Dew League Global Challenge. Then, I mean, they lost AZK on top of this as well, just recently. That note might have to be changed, and we'll just segue into that topic when we go into the second topic now. Swag leaving Torqued, and now AZK leaving Torqued. Thoughts?
One like equals 1 tier for Swag.
Right? Yeah.
He's just like, I'm done. Well, to be fair, he's going to be streaming and doing all that stuff, and I hope somebody finds him, but leaving Torqued is kind of a surprise because I feel like it's all about that chemistry, the Swag Steel, AZK, old school kind of chemistry, and now he's just gone, and now AZK's gone, so Steel's just like, all right, guys, you're done. Bring in these new guys.
Yeah, and Swag says he's going to stream. He's streamed in the past, and he's not that entertaining, I would say, but he has such a cult following. It's like one of those movies that comes out it's like, okay, it wasn't that good, but years later, it's like, okay, it's fun to just enjoy the moment. I think that's what his stream is going to be equivalent to.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yes, you're right. I agree with you. Hopefully somebody picks him up. He's a competitive level player that deserves to be on a team.
100%. And so does AZK. Even though he did kind of underperform, like, it's still AZK. Like, I don't think you can just, like, depreciate his value despite what happened on Torque. I still think he can find a place somewhere in this league as well.
Okay. I don't know. AZK seems like one of those awkward puzzle pieces to be able to fit into a team. He's got the history behind him, but it's same story with Swag. They just kind of the same story with Steel. They just haven't met that level of performance, and it might be to paraphrase what Dazed had said when he decided to retire was like they're held to these huge standards because they left the game or they were forced out of the game in their prime. And so it's like when there's a death of someone, like you hold them in the highest regards, and the whole community has this huge image of them, and they can't fill those shoes. Those shoes were never even on their feet to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah, we got them out there running with socks and sandals.
Phased retirement gear right here.
Okay, so they're gone. That's something we can't get behind.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? What you're the new GM of Torqued. Who are we trying to get?
I see, like, after seeing the performances at the Global Challenge, I was like, oh man, I would love it'd be a wet dream for me to just see the convergence of Torqued and Swole Patrol. Of course, you can't have 10 guys or 8 guys on a team in this case, but I mean, I would love to see like plus Freak plus Cooper. That would be, because I think Freak and Cooper are a package. I don't think they'll not play without one another. I think even Freak said at one point that he thinks his brother's better than him. It might just be brotherly love. But that's what I would love to envision as Torqued.
Cooper is definitely like improving over time, and I can see why Freak would think that. Maybe it's not exactly true at the moment, but like I can see why he sees that kind of potential in his own brother. And I feel like it is a package deal, because if they do possibly live together, that might be a little bit of a bad chemistry within the household.
I mean, brothers fight all the time. I mean, you would have drama in there, but it's brotherly drama. It's always repairable.
No. This is the one where it's like you'll be cooking something up, and usually you'll be like, "Hey man, you want some?" But this time he's just staying silent, making his food.
But it's brotherly brawl, dude. I mean, those guys, they could sure have drama. It's like a perfect idea of a stream team, and that's why I think Swole Patrol should start streaming, in all honesty. Because you get that inner conflict, but you know it's not long lasting. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't like watching drama and stuff, but if it's between two brothers, it's like it's something different.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of funny, it's kind of quirky.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
But to get back to Torqued, their performance last season, moderate, made it, squeaked by into the Global Challenge, but then kind of floundered. I held out for him. I fanboyed. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna hide it. But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on replacing Swag and AZK?
I honestly, like, there's a bunch of different avenues that we can go down, and I hope that they're looking towards like guys that were pro that are like free agents now. Like ideally, you'd want pro experience. I mean, that's what Swole Patrol did. But I mean, if you want in-house MDL guys, there's so much talent that you can just snag out of the air, because there's no orgs. And to give guys the chance to play with a legend like Steel, like I feel like some people would take it, maybe some won't. And I feel like a guy like Stellar, who kind of has that fragging power he did last season. I'm pretty sure it was top 4 in frags last season. He has a Swag level of frag power. I'm pretty sure they were
really
1 kill away last season between each other, and I think it was Swag that came 3rd. So like they're on course right there. And then if you want to also just snag T-Connors from the same team, he broke the record for most 1vx's in a season. So you get a level of clutch play, and you get a fragger equivalent to Swag. So I think things balance out.
That's what Swag was always known for, is his clutch potential. Of course, everybody on Reddit and everything is like, oh, he's just baiting. Even in chat, it's like, Swag's baiting. He's the last guy alive, like every round. But that's kind of his role. If they don't strike his site directly, he ends up on this like late rotate and everything else like that. And he just clutches so hard. And I'd say like what's Darf in chat is saying something like he's good for 2 or 3 clutches in a game. That's 2 or 3 rounds that have an impact, and those 2 or 3 rounds can blossom into 5, 6, 7 rounds. So he's a very valuable player to have, and it's a shame that he's gone separate ways with Torqued. But if you're thinking T-Connors has that clutch potential, yeah, that could fit.
For sure. And then I also thought this one of, and I think this is something that people would actually expect. However, with Kusta in the mix in the opping situation, could have a really good duo op, could have a weird situation going on in the team. Who knows? But I think if you brought in Odorous and Maka from the Pioneers, they just came off that loss, so maybe they're a little salty towards the rest of the team. Who knows? I don't know. But you could have Odorous, who obviously is probably the best op in the MDL. I mean, 2 seasons in a row, he leads the league in op kills, and he also broke the record twice, or not broke the record twice, but he's the only one with over 200 in a season, 2 seasons in a row. So the guy is absolutely insane. So if you put him together with Kusta, who we know has all the potential in the world, debatable on whether or not he's reached it. And then you bring in Maka, who's like that vet, but also super talented, that's played with Odorous for multiple seasons now. Like, you get actually like a good coherent duo in with that team. I think that could work really well as well.
Okay. All right. So enough with who could fill those shoes. But the remaining players that are there, including the coach, James IRL is quite possibly... Sorry, Oso, if Oso's in the chat. He was earlier. I would say James IRL is one of the hardest working coaches I have ever seen. The dude puts so much legwork into research and executing practices for the team. I mean, sticking him into different roles. We saw a change up in the Torqued lineup, especially when it came to Inferno. I think they pushed Swag over towards the B site rather than AZK with Steel. And that worked. It did, and I believe that came from the just the legwork and the research of James IRL. The dude busts his ass so hard.
And I feel like part of that is because of his time. I'm pretty sure it was with ESL when he was actually on the desk. Like, he probably had to work his ass off watching VODs and watching every game. Like, he probably learned a ton from that and was like, let's just pour that into Torqued, who has a ton of potential already.
Yeah, and I mean, with the minimization of from the Valve rules of saying, okay, coaches can't talk in between rounds, they can only talk during tactical timeouts, like that minimizes the role of a coach, but you can change your focus elsewhere. And so that coach role has shifted into making information readily available and easily digestible to the players on the team. And that's what James did. I mean, you saw him with his notepad there. He had every bit of information written down, and he could traverse that information right to his team at a moment's notice, even if it's just XD on the notepad.
Yeah, for sure. It's like a League of Legends coach. Like, right before the game starts, they got their notebook out and they're just flipping through it like crazy. Like, these guys go hard.
Yeah, and he prepared for all those practices, just probably hours and hours and hours of VODs just condensed down into an easy to digest format. But I would say, as it stands now, James IRL MVP of what remains of Torqued. But to get off of who's left and who we admire on that team, we've now started to get hints of who could be replacing in Torqued or where Torqued could be going at this point. It's a shame. You saw some tweet. We've got it highlighted. Yeah. We've got it, but the tweet has since been deleted. What did that tweet say, Blake?
It said that Torqued was practicing with Wardell and Sabrosa, which could mean one of two things. They're either bringing them in or they're moving on up.
I would hate to agree with you on that. I love Torqued as a brand. I would love to see it go back that way. It is hard to fight the ocean current, though. You know, who has more money?
For sure.
One of Torqued's actual selling points, to me, it seemed, was they were so marketable because they kept themselves vanilla. They didn't sign with anything. We made their jerseys at Nerd Street, and that was it. Like, we didn't put any other logos or anything on there. That makes them more marketable. If an org wants to come in, they don't have to bump another conflicting sponsorship out, which would be more money to that org. That makes them so marketable. So whether one goes one way or the other, whether Torqued goes to Ghost or Ghost goes to Torqued, you'd have to take the obvious route. I mean, it's the least resistance, right?
It's all about that cash flow.
Yeah. But there are, of course, other options on the table. You always have to look at it like, sorry, everybody, the sun's starting to come into my face, so these splotches on my face keep appearing and reappearing. But there are free agents that are floating about. There's a couple options. Torqued could absorb, siphon up some of these free agents that exist, such as Marky, because there's a clip we're going to show you right here in a second. It was from Psalm's stream to intro this, and Psalm or somebody saying, Marky, you ready for Torqued? And they were talking about leaking it. We'll play it right now.
Marky, you excited for Torqued?
Yeah, man. We're gonna reap.
What?
Don't make me tell. Can you tell what? The fuck?
I'm gonna leak it. Don't make me.
Was on Ghost as well. I don't know if he still has an involvement in Ghost either, so you could interpret that whichever way you want. How would you interpret that?
I would say Marky's just going for it.
Just going for it.
He's ready, dude. He's ready. Like, he's torqued up. Like, get this guy a Nerd Street jersey and just like get him a little torqued backpack. He's on his way, dude.
Okay, so Marky is on the table as an option of what couple of things could happen as well. There's also struggling teams where I'm talking about teams that they could siphon from or whatever. Dignitas was a team that struggled. They lost their Pro League status. That's always like the lowest hanging fruit. You look at those teams. If one team's struggling that has a high profile like Torqued, you might start to see some rotations. Of course, Ghost falls into that category as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. In that thread of Psalm's clip in there, there was a highest rated comment that was in there by a guy named 6 Foot on the internet. He's 6 foot on the internet. I figured it out. He says it's a bait. They're joining Ghost Gaming. That was the highest upvoted thread. Whether you trust Reddit or not, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly lying about his height on the internet. Who knows
That's
what else he's lying about? Like,
clearly.
Come on, dude. Like, the guy's 5'4", and he's got muscles like me. Like,
right?
Get this guy out of here.
Right? Yeah. Well, there was I actually just watched a H3 Productions podcast when they interviewed Dr. Disrespect, and he's like,
perfect.
I didn't actually believe that you're 6'8" until you were actually 6'8" in studio.
Yeah.
So you gotta take it with a grain of salt sometimes. But there's a lot of evidence pointing one way or the other. We'll see how it ends up playing out in the upcoming days, though.
Yeah. I hope we don't lose them. Don't leave us, Torque, please.
I think the real feel of all of the community right now would love to see Torqued be torqued. We've seen this on and off and on and off thing with Torqued season after season. They exist, they don't exist. They exist, they don't exist. And now they're being phased out into what is like gray territory, fog of war. Nobody really knows yet. But I think that the real, like, everybody has, like I mentioned before, those huge shoes that they want to be filled. Everybody wants that Cinderella story of Torqued to show up. You know, they want it to have a happy ending.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Anyways, we'll end the discussion on Torqued and we'll advance, you could say. We'll advance to the ESEA Advanced Division. You like that segue?
No,
dude,
I
hand
don't.
over mouth. It's like, damn, dude, that was good.
I don't think that's what I was thinking.
That was really nice.
Yeah.
It should be on the news. So yeah, ESEA announces an advanced division. This is going to be now the gatekeeper division into the Mountain Dew League.
Yes. And I'll give a shout out here to Nerf. I'm pretty sure who is playing in the advanced division, or he might actually still be in main. He was kind of like, I want to say, like, the catalyst to this happening. He had that huge twit longer ESEA post about like why they should have a new division, and then a season and a half later they do it. Like,
yeah.
I feel like he might have had a hand there.
I mean, well, explain who Nerfed is.
He's just one of those main players, like
Just
a really
main...
like well, that's rude. I don't want to say
He's
just a main player. He's a good, consistently main player, not like CLG Red consistency in main, but we'll save that for later, I guess.
I got my eyes to raise.
I'm sorry.
It was like biting into a really sour apple. It was like, whoa.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, yeah, we'll hit that topic soon. We've got some of that.
Yes. But anyways, the advanced division.
Yeah, I mean, ESEA, everybody harps on them, but they have their ear to the ground. They listen to the community. So if they grabbed on Nerf's idea, they're like, hey, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
How many teams are in advanced? They're like 39 or 40 or something.
Yeah, I think it's under 40. It should be like,
okay.
Like between 37 and 39.
Yeah, it's up there. So it's a division that is dropped in, and this is my favorite thing, because in their announcement, in ESEA's announcement, they say, quote, in general, we want to move away from 1,000 team open division, which has players who are getting their very first experience of competitive CSGO, but they're going up against high-quality semi-pro teams. They're getting their butts kicked.
Yeah.
So they want to tune the radio a little bit and get a little sharper pencil into that and say, okay, good teams play against the great teams and not so good teams that are just getting a taste of Counter-Strike to play against other teams that are just getting a taste. But then Shroud comes in.
Yeah, he's like, I don't like the sound of that. The way you guys are doing this is bogus. We're coming in.
We're going to just drop some bombs in open real quick.
Yeah.
It's the real old guys team in open. It's Shroud, Nothing, Fulfarin, Sean Gares, and Lurpus. And after 2 games, their score line sits at 32-7. Do they get an immediate bump in the next season?
I mean, if they actually do well, like unless they're just trolling and go 0-16 and don't care. Like...
But that's the thing. They control and still beat ass.
Yeah.
It's like they're going to whoop.
Yeah. They should, obviously, if they actually perform. But when I look at this roster, like, I'm just throwing Tide Pods at it. Like, these guys are washed. Like, oh my God. They're getting up in the age and they're getting down in the skill. That's how it works, right?
Well, you can think of it like, I actually just watched a documentary today on marathon runners.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about marathon runners steadily improve on their skill. Like Counter-Strike players, they start playing, they improve on their skill. At 27 years old, that's the peak of a marathon runner. And then they start to degrade. Age happens, they degrade. But guess what happens at 60 years old? They've degraded all the way from their peak at 27.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like they're back to the same speed as they were when they were 19 years old.
Yeah.
That it's like a steep up curve and then slow burn down. So I mean, these guys are quote unquote old, but they're maybe slightly past their prime. But I think it's going to follow the same trend as these guys are going to be good for years and years to come.
Well, they should be good in open. I mean, if you look, like, if they're not good in open, I got to question this a little bit.
I don't think there's any team in open that ever has a chance of pulling a game off these guys. I'd be even surprised if a half was taken off of these guys. But that's open. We got to stay on topic of advanced. One of our topics and talking points is CLG Red. They actually won their first game in open, or not in open, in advanced. And everybody was like, what's going on? Why is CLG Red being it just jumped up to advanced?
Yeah. I questioned it, and then I tweeted their win, and I was like, what is happening? Like, I looked at the pregame, I looked at Wu-Tang's roster, and I was like, they can do it. And then they didn't. I was like, all right.
They didn't even come close to doing it.
Yeah, CLG Red, you're making MDL next season. Like, you guys are lighting up this league right now.
Whoa! Whoa! God, my chair leans back a little bit. We had a little head back into the left right there.
Clearly joking. but like, it was, I don't want to say like insanely convincing, but I think 16-7 tells you a little bit of a story that like this wasn't really Wu-Tang's day.
No, it may have not been their day. And it might be the way of atmosphere where they start slow. Maybe Wu-Tang come back later, but they've already passed. They got no takebacks on CLG Red. CLG Red keep moving ahead with so far that perfect scoreline. But yeah, everybody was harping on them. And dude, it's the survival of the fittest, man. The strongest survive. If they get relegated, they get relegated. If they relegate up, they relegate up. It can happen. But there's 39 some teams in here, man.
Yeah, and like you say, like, you know, the strong survive. Like, this roster has stayed strong. CLG is just pouring money into this team. Yeah. All the other teams are just mixing themselves up. Like, why would ESEA want to invest in some pub team that has like one of each good guy from 5 different teams? Like, that doesn't sound decent at all.
Yeah, if you think of it from a business perspective, I would reference the Hentai Weebu Master Lords, but they're actually in the division.
Yeah,
that team drives me nuts. But if they're just going to grab some random pug team and throw it into advanced, what value added does that have to ESEA? Yeah. If they bring in CLG Red and treat it like a business, they bring a lot of attention. Look at these, already succeeded. Yeah. Everybody knows about advanced. Everybody's paying attention to the games even.
Yeah.
So, like, win-win for literally everybody. It grows the Counter-Strike community. You start to gain more viewership. You have a female Counter-Strike team that's on the front lines, on the front page of Reddit. They're winning games. They're losing games. It doesn't matter. It's drawing a lot of action.
Yeah, for sure. Like, when they say that we want to bring the semi-pros up, I'd say they're technically semi-pro. They're getting paid to play. Like, all you pug teams aren't. They are, like, they're semi-pros by definition.
Yeah. And you've got a note here. Pug life takes first through the first couple of days. It is the first couple of days. Do they get some of the games out of the way?
Yeah. Yeah, they I liked how they actually started getting the ball rolling, because when I went to Mad City, Chicago, where I got this nice little tea, I actually got to like meet the guys of Pug Life, and I got to see like their surprise victories that they were getting, and how a particular player, Dane Joris, was playing really awesome. I told him at LAN, I was like, "You're nuts, dude! Like, keep it going. I'm gonna be paying attention." And hey, I'm paying attention. I'm talking about you right now. Like, I told you, and I'm doing it. You guys are. I want you to light it up, and especially Dane Joris and Devine, somebody who used to be an MDL as well, is on that team. So he's kind of leading the youngster through. So I'm hoping they do well.
And then you've got Shot Up is still retired, but apparently retiring in a smurfing form.
Yeah, so you'll recognize Shot Up by his Smurf account 64816794. I don't know what the number. I'm pretty sure it's 648 something. That's his name on the SEA. So that's his Smurf account. He's still on Quick Hands. That when they got the move up from main after they had, I'm pretty sure, a second round out or a first round out in the playoffs last season. So he's still retired, but he's getting paid to play the game. Hey, so he's like, whatever, man. Like,
our own Evan Emote is retired, quote unquote. He's still playing and casting now. He's in that transition phase.
Exactly.
I'll never forget Shot Up's 1v5. I think he had a 1v5 ace clutch,
I believe,
on Nuke. And I was like, this dude's absurd. It was like 2 seasons ago or something like that, maybe even last season. My memory gets real foggy at 31 years old, but Shot Up, yeah, by all definitions, he can compete in MDL. He's gonna, any league lower than that, I agree, is gonna be a easy peasy lemon squeezy for him.
It doesn't make sense to me either. Like, he told me at the LAN in my interview, he said, I don't care. Like, I don't care if we win, I don't care if we lose. Then why do you try to win 1v5s, dude? Like the second it's a 1v5, just run out with your knife. Like, if you don't care, that's what you do. It's like the second the mouse and keyboard are like touching his skin, it's a different person.
Competitive nature. A lot of these guys are like that. It's, you put something in front, they have to be the best. Yeah. I mean, that's why they're working their way up through the divisions. But any other notable players for you?
Yes, one last one that I want to point out. So I got Dane Joris, I got Shot Up, and I'm gonna bring up a guy named Tennels, and he has 1 season of MDL under his belt, and it was season 23. So the very first season that the Mountain Dew League covered at least the regular season.
I recall him.
And when I was writing, I wrote an article for Team Rival at one point. Who now has like 4-pack and Kuba in main or advanced now. I don't know. When I wrote an article for them, Tennels was on the team, and he was a star. Like, he was playing fantastic. And at the time, I was really looking out for him. And this is in like 2016. And this is around the time Fragadelphia, I believe it was 8 or 9. The one Bees Money Crew won.
Which one? Bees Money Crew
true.
won.
I think it was the first
back champs.
Yeah, I think it was the first one. And I actually had Rival doing quite well, and then they kind of got bodied, which was unfortunate. But Tennels is a star player on that team, and now he's playing with Big Frames. So he's actually playing with Nerfed, actually the Advanced Division Catalyst, I would say. Yeah, so yeah, he is on Big Frames now.
The Da Vinci of the Advanced Division.
Yeah, legit. And he's like, it seems like it's going well, so I hope that they continue that. He had a small role to play in that victory, but I'm hoping that later on he turns up.
Okay. With some of the notable teams that we've run through the list of like 39 or 40 teams that are in there, if you guys want to pay attention to that, there's CLG Red, of course, we just played on for a little bit. Weeaboo Master Lords, we mentioned as well. I'm not a huge fan of the team just because of the troll aspect of it. When I casted it, every time I can't say it.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
It's an
But
awesome
they're
name.
in that
It's
division.
an awesome name. Come on.
I don't.
Dude, I would play on that team. I'm terrible. They don't want me, but I would play on that team.
I enjoyed the team at like for the first 2 games, and I was like, all right. It wore off. Like I was like, oh, they got cute little anime pictures to go along with the whole theme, and then it wore off because they like their time slot to play games matched up perfectly with the MDL broadcast. So we always casted a Weeaboo Master Lord.
They definitely did that. They did that on purpose for sure. If it's a team meant for trolling, they wanted to troll you.
Probably. They won. They succeeded if they're watching.
Yeah.
So Guerrilla Tactics is in there. We've seen them as well. If I'm not mistaken, Guerrilla Tactics, were they at the Fragadelphia? Maybe our producer could chime in at some point, but there was one team that came in late. No, that was Guerrilla Core. That was Guerrilla Core.
Yeah,
I remember Guerrilla Core.
Brazilians?
Yeah, the Brazilians showed up late to the event, and they're like, then they lost, and they complained. Oh,
sounds Brazilian to me.
Yeah, it was some weird thing. I don't know. It did put a bad taste in my mouth. But then you got Team 1. I saw Team 1 on there, and I was like, is that the Team 1? But it's an NA team, Team 1. If I'm not mistaken, there was a South American Team 1.
It is South American, yes.
Really, they're coming up as American flags.
That's because they're playing from America.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
It's like TRK, IDK, Malouk.
All right.
Yeah, like they went to, what was the event? WSG 2018.
Yeah,
played out of their minds. Like, so I'm glad to see them here. That's why they're a notable team.
Yeah, I mean, they were at one of the global challenges. It was in Los Angeles. I don't remember which global challenge it was, but I remember seeing them there. Then there was, let's see. Yeah, well, they're like taking the route of other teams that in NA that brought a team to the States, played for a while, and then disbanded.
Yeah.
Hence the Miami Flamingos or Gale Force at that point.
They were so good. They were so good.
They were amazing.
So
it makes me so frustrated, dude. They were so good.
So
and then the money just ran dry. Like so many orgs.
That's the life of Counter-Strike. I guess
it is. It really is.
Especially in CSGO. Yeah.
Speaking of like Iceberg and stuff, dude, like the orgs are there, and it's like that's a pretty good team. They're making some pretty good showings, and then just the money isn't there.
Yeah.
Or even Denial. God, I keep thinking of one after every sentence because there's more to pick from than I care to admit.
And maybe this is another one. We got Grizzlies, a team to watch out for. It's not the same.
It's the same org.
Yes.
As the Grizzlies, which was the old French-Canadian team. That slot was bought, and then they went down to a now advanced team.
Mm-hmm. And now they're just, the players didn't want to play in advance, so they're just like, all right, we'll bring in these new guys, I guess. Yeah.
Then you got Big Frames and Resolute. We'll touch on them real quick because time's flying, dude. We gotta fly.
Are we actually like we're just going through right now?
We're 50 minutes in. Just touch on the Big Frames and Resolute, man.
Oh my god. Okay, Big Frames, mention them, nerfed. Thank you so much for the advanced division. We love you for it. Merci beaucoup, my friend. That's Canadian, French, whatever, you don't understand. And then Resolute.
Just pulled an American thing. He's speaking American.
We got Resolute. The team looks decent. It's a bunch of MDL players. You got JMO, who used to play with Tropical last season. I don't remember their team name, but they were okay. Then you got Jacob, who was on S-Basing back in season 24, 25.
I remember.
Yeah. They weren't great, and I hated on them a lot. I know, I'm sorry for the past, but whatever. You got the Mexicans, Chudy and Kinky are playing on the team as well. And then you got Clums, who was really good at MDL, and now he's just like, I'll play in advance with these guys. So they look pretty good. They're 1-1 right now.
All right. I don't know how many viewers that we've got right now that are actually going to pay attention to the advanced division, but we recommend that you do, especially those notable teams that we did mention.
For sure.
But we did mention CLG Red, and with female gaming comes our next topic.
Yeah.
Benita. Benita's taking a break from FPLC.
I get it. FPL is toxic as hell. I've played a few matches in the Dust 2 League, in the Mythic League. I paid for both subscriptions. I'm that guy.
You had to pay for the Dust 2 League?
Yes.
You worked for them.
I know. They were like, give me your money. No,
give me your cash. Nobody gets a free pass here.
Yeah, exactly. So that's okay. I don't mind at all. Money is nothing. Just get it out of here. So playing in both leagues, everybody's toxic, but That's MM. That's rank S. Like, no matter where you go, there's going to be toxic people, and it's unfortunate for females that like they get all of the toxicity. Like, and I understand why, but I feel bad at the same time.
Yeah, I've also heard there's always a second side to the story too, and I've heard many things that Benita is as well, just toxic, and it might just be what happens when you have toxicity in a game, and it might be clumped up and surrounded on the core of that she's a female gamer, but it is, if you're surrounded in a toxic environment, it might make you toxic as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this like, what came first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing. And I would absolutely be led to believe that the community was the one that was the first to draw blood.
Yeah, the second kids hear a female voice, they're just like, "Make me a sandwich!" Like,
yeah,
like,
it's
like at first, like maybe if you're a female and you have a sense of humor, you're just like, kids. And then after you hear it 5,000 times, you're like, okay, cool, you guys are all super original. Like,
yeah,
it's not fun anymore.
And that's another thing, is a lot of times to go to bully hunter kind of thing, to beat a bully is to kind of bully back. You know, if somebody's bullying you at school, you punch them in the face or in the gut. You know, it stops the bullying right there in the spot. And like, Benita might be fighting back, but on the internet, things are different. If you fight back on the internet, you become kind of the center stage, and then it just compounds the issue. It's a completely different animal than being in real life with bullying. But her stepping back from FPL, understandable.
Do what you got to do. Like,
it's only FPL, you know.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. It's not like your life revolves around just FPL. Like, it kind of revolves around Counter-Strike. So you got to keep playing a little bit, probably. But
yeah, for sure.
The FPLC, take whatever you got to do.
So we'll touch on that, and we're finished with that one. We're just kind of in and out kind of thing, and then we'll go to the last topic of the day, which holds true to a lot of our dear hearts. Fragadelphia has been announced that they're paired up with ESEA to host their servers, and that'll, of course, come with all the anti-cheat and everything else along with it.
Thank God. Thank you. We bless the anti-cheat ESEA gods. Thank you. And it was also like, his sun in your eye there, buddy?
Dude, it's like, it's to the point where I've been leaning back to try to avoid it. But the further I lean back, it's just like the sun keeps creeping, and now it's just like center stage. I can't. I have leprosy.
Anyways, when I saw this announcement, I was actually like, I was super happy. Like, I saw that, I was like, something I haven't seen before. Thank you. Like, it's super interesting to see that like they were doing it kind of themselves. Were they not? Was Fragadelphia kind of hosting their own servers?
Yeah. So, well, back in the day, and the day being like a year ago, Nerd Street was paired. Nerd Street here, this Nerd Street was paired with Fragadelphia. The two businesses split and did their own thing, and we wish them all the best. And we're so happy to see them back into it.
Sure.
I can't wait to see Fragadelphia again. And so they announced that they're coming up. They actually have a brilliant little Twitter campaign to announce where the next Fragadelphia is going to be. Like, their whole ad campaign is kind of ingenious, because they do this like secretive thing like every time, and now they're doing like a PUBG where we dropping kind of thing. And every tweet, the next tweet, the circle shrinks. And the latest tweet was like lag. So lag hasn't cleared up since. Yeah. But that big circle, if you haven't seen it, is pretty much focused around the Eastern Seaboard. You can see it on the screen now. Anywhere ranging from, I believe I saw Virginia all the way up into just shades of Canada. And so it could be anywhere.
My house is in that circle. So
is it really? All right.
It is. Are
you in
Fragadelphia could be here.
Are you in the Toronto area? Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm a little bit south of that. More. I don't want to reveal my location, because then I might get all these stalkers after me.
Are you in Saskatoon?
No. That's outside the circle.
Way outside the circle.
Come on. Gotta work on your Canadian geography here, my dude. But yeah, just southwest of Toronto is where I'm at.
Oh, I mean, the only Canadian city that I can see in there is Toronto. There's how do you say it?
Mississauga. Yeah, I'm southwest of that as well. It's like,
right, so you're pretty much.
I'm in between.
All right, And then there's Niagara Falls that's in there too. So maybe it's just across the border. Would be pretty cool. So that's awesome. I'm sure soon we'll be able to see that, as well as their bracketing structure is brought to you by Matcherino. And you can go in there. Typically what Fragadelphia has done is they go in there and you can just type in some coupon code, and it automatically Matcherino donates $1 to the prize pool. The last I saw, the prize pool was growing. It was pretty significant for just starting up. And you can go up there on Matcherino. I'm sure you guys can check it out on the Fragadelphia's Twitter, and go support them through Matcherino as well. It's gonna be a great event. There is an online bracket before the live event, the offline event. First place in that bracket gets you $1,750. Typically, that's always been in support. It's labeled as support. That's going to be like travel money, hotel money. It's your money to spend to get to the offline event. Same thing. Second place is $1,000. Third place is free entry.
I wanna vent for a little second about Fragadelphia here. Just about Fragadelphia. I spent a little time working for HLTV. Loved my time there. I was a match coverage guy. So I did pretty much everything NA, as well as the guy in South America, my boy Martin. Shout out my boy Martin. Doing all the NA stuff.
Pour one out for the old boy.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So when me and Tolkien Fanatic and Martin were like I had to work on a laptop as well. So I was working on a laptop. I had lost my glasses into a pond when I went to Canada's Wonderland, which is an amusement park here. That's like just southwest of Toronto.
Okay.
They flew off. So I'm basically blind, looking at my laptop screen, working on Fragadelphia, and they had so many matches playing at one time. I lost it. I don't get stressed. But like working on a little rinky-dink laptop on HLTV with our stuff, and then with that many matches at one time, you guys were killing me. This was Frag 11. And so when that match between Swag's team, were they GX at that event? What were they called? Frag 11. Best of 5 was Rise Nation.
Oh, dude, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Okay, wait.
The letter O is coming to mind. Pug gods? No. It's gonna bug me.
It was Ownage.
That's it.
Yes.
It was
Ownage. They won that event.
It was P. Ponage.
Yeah.
Ponage. Okay, yeah.
They go all the way to like 3 a.m. and I'm still sitting there on my laptop. I got one hand on it, and I'm like this.
Yeah. I remember I left. Dying. I left. That was like a best of 5 series, and it was like, I'm just gonna go home.
Yeah. So I expect the same level of exhaustion out of myself for this Fragadelphia.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good show. But of course, all good things come to an end, and I think we're going to have to close the show. We're coming right up on the 1 hour mark. And James IRL joined in. Dude, James, you're going to have to watch the VOD back, man. We mentioned you. We highlighted you. And yes, this hair, I wake up like this. I just wake up, I go hand through the hair, and it just does that. It's all.
Really?
That's it, man.
That's amazing.
It's what happens when you get old. I think this is probably like a precursor to hair just falling out. So one day I'm just going to come in here, and then I'll be Gramps.
Perfect. Yeah, don't. Gramps is bald. Shout out Gramps.
But ladies and gents, we're going to end it on that note. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 1 of The Drop Room. I'm Topical. Joined with me is Blake Balti. I don't even want to say baby.
Don't even say it then, bro.
All right, just Balti. Just Balti. We'll do it that. We're brought to you by Nerd Street Gamers. We're going to find some cool sponsorships here soon too. So good night, good luck, ladies and gentlemen. Have fun, and keep your sticks on the ice.